Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Listening In with Seth. Now, we're going to take a different approach today. It's the most wonderful time of the year, so we're going to talk about holiday shopping tips. But it's not what you think. So hang in there with me, and we're going to talk about those tips that are going to help you out. Okay, so normally what we do is we listen to a phone call together. But I wanted to cover 5 holiday shopping tips for you today. And so I didn't think we'd have time to do both. So let's dive in and talk about what do I mean by holiday shopping. So this time of the year, for the next few weeks, something we know is there's going to be a lot of drivers kicking the tires. So they're going to be making a number of phone calls, just checking things out. Because statistically, even if we just look at the numbers, drivers are far less likely to job hop, switch jobs, take on a new role during the November, December months than they are in January. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. One of them being, who wants to switch jobs during the holidays, right? We kind of just want to finish out what we've been working on, who we've been working with. There's plenty of other things to worry about during this great time of the year. And so the other thing I think people sometimes get is an end of the year, maybe it's a safety bonus or some type of bonus where they need to stick it out to the end of the year to get it. So in other words, a number of reasons why people are going to be looking around without making the leap until January. So we're going to refer to those as our shoppers, okay? Those are the people looking around, just kind of making calls to figure out where they might want to go come January. So tip number 1 is time equals commitment. So normally I try to refrain from, just because there's some negative connotation, real or not, around car salespeople and the car buying process. However, something they've incorporated into their process is they've learned that if they make that buying process longer, it increases the commitment from the individual going through the process. So when we talk about spending time with drivers, I mean, it should be a very positive thing, taking the time to get to know them and asking about what their goals are, what they're looking for, making sure it's a good fit. Because what we don't want to do, especially as we go into these other tips, is spend a bunch of time if we know it's not a good fit for them or maybe a good fit for us. But as we go about that conversation, we'll get a good feel for that. And if you spend good quality time with them, they're more likely to commit to come work with you when the time is right. All right, on to number 2, which is create some urgency. So if they are just kicking the tires, looking around, what can you do to help them see that, hey, it's great, check things out, but let's get this process going if it's a good fit for everybody. So how are you going to create that urgency? Well, you could talk to them about, hey, come January, things pick up quite a bit as far as people looking, filling out applications. And it could be really easy to get lost in the shuffle of all those applications coming in. So if you want to stand out now, let's go ahead and move forward with the process instead of waiting till then, because there could be a chance that those roles end up getting filled, and it sounds like it's going to be a really good fit for everyone. So create that urgency of let's take some action now. All right, number 3. A compelling offer. So once again, if you took the time up front to go over everything that you need to, well, why not make the offer? Because really what you're trying to do is, if it's a good fit for everyone, save them a ton of time. They don't need to go talk to 10 other carriers because what they heard, what we discussed, is a good fit. So give them reasons to stop looking. I think they'll actually appreciate it. If they found what they're looking for, then they won't, like I said, have to take that time and go through all those conversations. Let's just get it done now. All right, number 4. So this is somewhat of a shameless plug, but I'll say it anyway, which is, I don't know what number of episode this is. Maybe we can throw it up there somewhere, a graphic or something. But we've taken a lot of time together to talk about how to stand out from the rest of the crowd. So what I would encourage you to do is jump back into some of those previous episodes and find out how can you stand out, because I've listened to many phone calls between drivers and recruiters, and many of them sound the same. So it shouldn't be that difficult to figure out, how can I stand out from the crowd? How is our conversation going to be memorable compared to the other 4 or 5 conversations that driver is having? And so, like I said, go back to previous episodes, lots of good content in there on how to stand out. All right, 5th and final tip for your holiday shopping is a strong call to action. So this, relates to some of the other previous bullet points as well. But as that call's coming to a close, what are clear next steps? Is it completing an application? Is it setting up a time, a follow-up of, hey, let's talk again next week to continue this process. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear what else you've heard, because it really sounds like this is going to be a really good fit for both of us. So what is that strong call to action? One nice report that we have access to, called the Call Disposition Report. What it does is it puts calls in buckets based off of how that call went. And I can tell you this, at this point, there's hundreds of thousands of phone calls in there. And it's actually rare, it shouldn't be, but it's actually rare that we end up completing an application with an individual over the phone. So that's one quick way to stand out is, hey, let's get the application done together. So once again, that's a very small percentage of all phone calls and end up in an application. So those are the 5: time, urgency, offer, stand out, and a strong call to action. So over the next few weeks, as you're talking to those holiday shoppers, those that are just kicking the tires, looking around, have really good conversations with them and put these tips into action, and you'll set them and yourself up to have a really, really good January post-holidays. So hope you have a wonderful Christmas, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.